How about Deebo Samuel, man? Last couple weeks, this guy's been absolutely on fire.
Deebo Samuel's been an unbelievable zone beater since he's entered the league. What he does is so unique and so singular, and it's so important to this 49ers offense.
It is very rare for what Deebo is doing, especially when we're talking about reception perception metrics.
Look at the release.
There's your separation.
Great route.
Stutter and go. Gets by clean.
That is unbelievable.
Maybe the greatest catch I've ever seen.
How about Deebo Samuel, man? Last couple weeks, this guy's been absolutely on fire. I do think, though, that against Seattle in that cover 3 defense, this was, I don't want to say easy to see, but none of us were surprised, right, that Deebo Samuel, one of the best zone beaters in the NFL of recent memory, absolutely goes crazy against cover 3.
Yeah, right. I mean, we've talked about Deebo Samuel's been an unbelievable zone beater since he's entered the league. He's been over 80% success rate versus zone in every single season. He has multiple seasons over 83%. Like last year, he was top 5 in success rate versus zone coverage. He was top 5 the season that he went berserk in 2021. I mean, he is one of the premier zone beating receivers in the league. He does and this is what makes him such a tough receiver to talk about and kind of, like, I would argue he might actually be one of the most difficult receivers to rank if you're just sitting down and ranking like top 10 receivers in the NFL. Like, Deebo probably doesn't make my top 10, but then you watch the game on Sunday and you're like, how the hell do you not have that guy as a top 10 receiver? Like, what are you on? Are you on drugs? I would say the thing that's the weakest part about his game is that he definitely does struggle with man coverage, press coverage. He's not like a true traditional one-on-one ISO route runner, right? And like Brandon Ayuk is so the one-on-one ISO man coverage beating route runner, right? Like they're just very different receivers, but what Deebo does well, he does maybe better than anybody else in the league. You know, and that trump card trade I do think is crazy. And it's not just the yak stuff. Obviously the yak stuff is legit, but his understanding and ability to manipulate zone coverage and especially running in breaking routes, crossing routes, right? Like dig routes, anything like that. He's just pretty much one of one. I mean, he is a unicorn of a player. I think he's a very, very difficult player to sit down and rank within wide receivers because what he does is so unique and so singular. And it's so important to this 49ers offense. Like, I just think he is a perfect example of why landing spots really do matter for receivers and I mean any player in the NFL. But I mean, what if this guy was not playing for Kyle Shanahan? Like,
that's
what
such
a
good point. That's
what a crime. I mean, same thing with like Cooper Kupp playing for the Rams. Like,
there
are definitely like multiverses and universes out there where these guys, I mean, especially like a Deebo is just languishing away, you know, doing some, maybe even doing some like goofy stuff in the Chiefs offense or whatever. I'm sure he'd be great in Kansas City, of course. I'm not saying that, but like his full expression, who he is in this Shanahan offense is just, it's pretty rare and it's pretty incredible.
You bring up such a great point, man. The pairing of coach and talent is so important because what you said is so important, right? The fact that he's just not a regular man beater, right? And so what's interesting is that sometimes people get it twisted in regards to the results and what that means for a player, right? And so it's almost like quarterback wins. You know, it's like, well, he wins, therefore he is good. And it's like, I don't know. I don't know how to tell you this, but like, you know, it's 11 on 11. We got 22 starters and all these, you know, I don't know if quarterback wins is a real stat, my guy. Imagine Deebo Samuel playing for, I don't know, one of these, you know, nameless, faceless coaches, right? And he languishes, as you mentioned, because he can't beat man coverage. Everyone would be like, well, he can't beat man coverage, therefore he sucks. Right, but no, that's not the case. I mean, again, it's like, you know, he's such an elite zone beater that.
Imagine Deebo Samuel in Frank Reich's Panthers offense.
Oh God, he might be out of the league in 5 years, man. Like that's how bad it is, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's extreme. All that was extreme examples, but it's true. And the funny thing about it, again, when you're sitting, this is why these conversations are really fascinating and why I think there doesn't have to be like you don't have Deebo Samuel rank your top 10 receiver. You're an idiot or you're wrong. And it's because it's an opinion and it's eye of the beholder and all that type of stuff. Because there is definitely a part of me that like we do this with quarterbacks all the time, right? Like, oh, well, okay, yeah, but what would Patrick Mahomes have looked like if he didn't land with Andy Reid? Well, what would Brock Purdy look like if he didn't play with the 49ers? It's like, well, who gives a shit? Because Brock Purdy plays with 49ers. Like, who cares? Yeah. Patrick Mahomes did end up with Andy Reid. Like, we don't live in that universe. And, like, thankfully, we don't live in the universe where Deebo Samuel's playing in Frank Reich's Panthers offense. We live in the reality where Kyle Shanahan is Deebo Samuel's coach and he's playing in this offense. And so it's almost like if we're sitting here saying, and again, there's no real wrong answer here, but there is a part of me that hears myself say, well, okay, yeah, Deebo, sure. What if he was playing on a different team? I mean, it doesn't matter. He's not playing on a different team. He's playing for this team. Remember there was that moment when Deebo was he's like, I want to get traded from the 49ers. And there was even like a video of it was like a San Francisco or like the Bay Area club or whatever. And the big sign, like Deebo's coming back, and like it zooms in on Deebo and he just does like one of the no, like throat, like the no throat thing or whatever. It was very funny. Even through all that, it was like, come on, man. No way are we getting Deebo Samuel out of San Francisco. And it's a testament and a credit to the football gods that they didn't allow it to happen.
That's such a great point. We talk about a player that has been every year that he has been charted in reception perception has been over 82% success rate versus zone. I struggle to find too many players that can do that. More than 4 recorded seasons of over 82% success rate versus zone. What are we talking, like Devontae Adams here? I mean, it's really, really rare what he is able to do in terms of just finding those soft spots and exploiting that. I think, I don't know, can you at least kind of go into some of those nuances of that? Because I think it's fair to say it's a lot easier to see a guy breaking a man-to-man coverage down than it is to see a guy get a positive mark against zone coverage.
Well, I think a lot of it is definitely really a good understanding of your own playbook, right? Because these routes are, it's designed to take advantage of and manipulate coverage, right? Like it's designed to find the right leverage points. So Shanahan's obviously dialing these routes up to beat these specific coverages in specific situations and everything like that. So for a guy like Deebo Samuel, like we talk about stuff with like route details, like running the route at the right depth so that if you're breaking in against zone coverage, like just think about these in-breaking routes and digs and stuff like that we're talking about with Deebo. We want you running the route, at a certain depth, at a certain yardage of depth, so that when you cut in on that route, you match up perfect with the quarterback's back, like when he hits the top of his drop back, so that he can get the ball out, get it to you in space, and then you can do the after catch stuff. I guarantee you, while we're all sitting here on the outside, like, yeah, but Brock Purdy, can he make this throw? Can he make that throw? I guarantee you Shanahan's like, yeah, but you know what? He knows how to, when he drops back, hit the top of his drop and gets rid of the ball. And he's got a guy in Deebo who, like, this is where it comes to beating zone coverage, and it all comes back to it. He's probably running these routes at the right timing, at the right depth and everything. And he's always playing within schedule, within the structure of the offense on those routes against zone coverage. And then obviously everything that he does from like a yak perspective and you just get him the ball in space and he creates layup throws and stuff like that. So there's a lot to it, but I'd say those are the two biggest things that matter when it comes to being an elite tier zone beater like Deebo Samuel.
Yeah, you talk about elite. What an interesting player he is, because again, his success rate versus man is really lacking. But man, so great against zone coverage. And again, we talk about struggle to find some receivers that have posted 4 success rates, 4 seasons of success rates over 82% versus zone. And really, when you look at this list, man, it's like the Antonio Browns, Devontae Adams, Stephon Diggs of the world. I mean, these are the kind of guys that have posted, again, 4 or more seasons over 82% success rate versus zone. Odell Beckham, I'm going through, over 82%. Yeah, he's done it, just not 4 times. You know what I'm saying? So it is very rare for what Deebo is doing, especially when we're talking about reception perception metrics.
Yeah, I mean, even like a Keenan Allen's never done that 4 times, and he's obviously a great receiver. So, Yeah, he is a very fascinating player. I think probably, like I said, if I'm thinking the most difficult receiver to rank in the NFL, just from a talent standpoint, it's probably Deebo Samuel. But man, he's great, and I think it's just what they've got going on in San Francisco right now is just truly like it's something we have not seen before. I know that sounds crazy to say, but this level of efficiency when all four of these guys are out there, McCaffrey, Kittle, Deebo, and Ayuk, like it's just like they have prototypes at every position. Like that zone beating Z receiver that can get yak. Debo's the best at that.